everyone. Welcome to Solh Talks Season 1 Leading Ladies. Today I have with me Pallavi. So, Pallavi, thank you for coming on the show today, first of all. I know you have been very busy, you have been traveling, you have so much of work commitments also. Thank you so much for coming. And please tell us about your journey to the audiences, about your
Mm,
journey specifically in your sustainable fashion field. People don't nowadays don't hear about this. It is a new term for everybody because for
yeah.
everyone, sustainability means okay, they are talking about greener environment, but nobody understands there is a sustainable fashion also. So tell us
Mm.
about your journey and what exactly you are doing and what exactly is this sustainable fashion.
Thank you firstly for having me. I feel like I do really enjoy talking to people more. And I think podcast is like one of the ways of where you get to interact and talk more. Otherwise, we've got in this whole Instagram swipe, which is going in like 2 seconds. So podcast is this longer format, and I everybody else might talk too much, so I like doing podcasts. So about me. So I'd say it's not just sustainable fashion. So I mean, I'll go back 10 years back. I was a regular small town kid who had to study science, didn't become an engineer, so did an MBA, got a corporate job. I was working in technology, and I was working in an IT company where I ended up doing a lot of work with the CEO and industry forums. And this is I'm
Okay.
talking 2011, 12. So where I was working closely with the World Economic Forum, writing these reports uh, about climate change. Like now, I'm literally living through it, which I wrote, and I didn't even think anything. Like when you're a 20-year-old doing some corporate job, writing a report that okay, the world needs to do these things, otherwise there's going to be climate change in 2020. Wrote all of that. We are literally living that with rains happening now in March, which I didn't imagine would happen then. Eventually, when I was doing this whole work, two things happened. I loved uh, realizing that there is such a bigger world because generally
Mm-hmm.
it's like you when you're growing up you're told to study hard, get a good job, get married, have children, get a house, get over, die. That's your circle, right? Like you don't really see beyond it. And suddenly I was sent in this global space where the world's who's who, right from somebody who's like the biggest corporate to somebody who's the biggest activist to somebody who's an artist. Like the year I went, there was a Bono, there was a Nicholas Sarkozy. So I was going to this World Economic Forum, which was a new world for me. Like I didn't know what is sustainability. I didn't really know what is climate change. And then suddenly, like, and you are like you are a corporate, you joined corporate like 2 3 years back. You just think about growing up the ladder to become XYZ. It's also, you don't realize, but it's a toxic culture
Yeah.
where everybody's competing with each other in not a good way, right? Like you're trying to pull each other down or all sorts of other things. But I realized that I was enjoying my job, where I was going to this platform, meeting these new people, these really, people who are trying to change the world. They have something called Young Global Leaders. So there are people who are doing social business. I didn't know what is a social business. So I started learning these new things, which I had no clue about. Basically, I saw that it's such a big
Hmm.
universe and not this little bubble of, grow up, get a job, get a house, get married. Like there's so much more happening. So in all of that, I ended up quitting my job because I now knew these big, amazing things, but I just hated going to work surrounded by people who were like so toxic. Uh, I also realized, like, when you're in that toxic kind of environment, you and how do you enjoy? So no, you didn't. Again, nobody's talking about mental health then, right? So
Yeah.
you go and shop when your salary comes in, or you
Yes.
go and buy a bigger car or something which maybe for that 5 minutes made you happy, and then you're back in that whole toxic life of working, maybe like hating 5 days of a week, kind of. lifestyle. Anyway, so I was doing all of this and I quit my job. And my ex boss had started this consulting in sustainable development, and she was my mentor. So I just gone to her that, as a mentor, what do I do? Where do I go next? Blah blah blah. And she was like, why don't you, till you figure, do a project with me? So I started doing a project with her, and on the side, I also met a friend of mine who had this idea about running a fashion blog,
Mhm.
which I like. I didn't really know about fashion blogs. I knew tech blogs. I actually was doing influencer management then in my corporate role. And there it was like, the world influencers, like, somebody who was a professor at Harvard Business School, or somebody who was writing a tech journal, things like that. So yeah, I was doing that. And so this friend, she had this idea about fashion blog. Both of us like fashion, used to talk a lot about fashion. I was somebody who would tell people, like, to try new color, new design. So technically, again, there was nothing called a stylist back then, but I was doing those things. So we started this blog, and I was doing this whole consulting work in sustainable development. When
Okay.
I did that first project, for me, I realized that I didn't have any mental trauma working
You
like
enjoyed
I
that.
did. Yeah, like, it was two ways. So the money was half or lesser, much lesser than what I was getting in my corporate job. But there was nobody trying to pull you down. When you work in
Yeah.
the development sector, everybody is there to make a change. Like, we all were working at half a salary. Uh,
Yeah.
Everybody who was in this consulting firm had corporate jobs, etc., and would quit that to do this. So everybody had a purpose. Eventually, when you're doing a project, it was a teamwork. Like, if we ended up, say, getting a internet center set up by a corporation in a village in UP, all five of us in the team is happy about it, because now अब उस गांव में ये हो रहा है. So you are happy that you created an impact. So that change in environment was amazing. It was also difficult because you're used to a certain lifestyle. You're used to getting your salaries every month, getting those perks. I was traveling international with my job, so all of that was over. When you work in any of these NGOs or sustainable firm, you also are then told that, you cannot be talking sustainable and be flying crazy. So you also started like understanding about taking a train for a short journey,
Hmm.
because you cannot. Now you're understanding
Yeah.
things. Earlier, you're a corporate, you're entitled that, and which is fine, because I'm getting tortured so much for the money, for the perk, right? So I was doing that, and the blog. I started the blog for fun. Back then, it was nothing to do with like I'm going to make money or anything, because I quit my job. I thought I'm going to become an entrepreneur, so I was just dabbling
Mixing
in
things.
things. Yeah, because I really thought I'm going to start a company or something like that. So I was just trying to do all of that. Now, because I was doing sustainable development, and then I started understanding about carbon offsetting, about your carbon footprint, and that's when I started learning. And because I was mostly, I used to do a lot about research. So in research is when I started figuring things like, how fashion industry or textile is the second biggest pollutant industry in the world. I started understanding like, there is all this dye which is going in our water. Why is a Ganga or a Yamuna with all that white thing? It's the dyes. Now, where is the dye coming from? It's coming from a garment factory. It's coming from the
Yeah.
leather shops across Agra, Kanpur, which are being released in the water. So on one side, now when you're talking sustainability and you're only talking environment, but nobody's telling you how's that environment getting polluted, right? It's
Correct.
coming from the industries. Now, what are those industries? Those industries are textile, they are leather, they like, then you realize all of that I am using. I'm the consumer. uh, I'm also buying all of those things. Then my mother works in trade union. So though she primarily works with workers in mining and minerals, because we are from Jamshedpur, but
Okay.
she also does work in government. And in 2015, there was this whole Rana Plaza incident in Bangladesh, uh, which my mom was telling me about, because at that point what had happened was that there was this big building called Rana Plaza where they used to have garment workers, which was basically outsourced all your fast fashion big brands who outsource clothing, which was being made in Bangladesh. A lot of they used to be locked inside to work. Firstly, they get very low pays, etc. But they were locked. The building was dilapidated. There was obviously there was no safety issues, and the building crashed. Or there was a fire. Sorry, there was a fire, and the building crashed, and there were like big chunk of workers
Mm-hmm.
who died, or this. Now the trade union, because my mother was in it, they were trying to get money from these MNCs, these fashion labels, to pay for this, right? But they were like,
Okay.
oh, it's not us. Right from like, all the big, I mean, I don't want to take names because what if I take the wrong name, but all your big international brands, they all
Mm-hmm.
were there and they all were refusing
Okay.
because what happens? Why are they outsourcing here? Because they have labor laws in America, in Europe, where they have to pay certain wage every
Okay.
hour to the
Yeah, I've seen this
worker.
in some documentaries
Yeah,
also. Know that.
you
Yeah.
have to have water, you have to have toilets, you have to
Yes.
have all these things. Right now, that's expensive. Now they figured that when they're outsourcing it to some little, and like it happens in India
A
also, like
developing
there are,
country like India or Bangladesh or
there is
that.
so much, yeah, like so much leather work is being done in Dharavi. Nobody's getting paid. There is no toilets. There is no safety norms. Nothing. So this was, and there it is. It's not theirs legally, right? Like they have subcontracted it. So अब contractor सफाई नहीं कर रहा है या contractor ही नहीं कर रहा है, it doesn't go to on them.
Yeah.
So there was this whole like it's not ours, blah blah blah. I think eventually they found burnt labels. It was like a big international thing. It was went in the courts, etc., where the trade unions finally proved that these are the guys, and they had to pay compensation. And then there was this whole change in like which they're still fighting for. That you need to have safety norms, you need to have basic amenities,
Yes.
things like that. And it's still not happening, to be honest. I mean, that's also why a lot of it has also become lesser in India, because
Yeah.
we have changed comparatively. The laws have got better. So now they
Right.
have shifted more into Bangladesh and Vietnam and Turkey and all of these places. So this I was getting to know from my mother. Again, till then, I was like every other cool kid who wants to be cool, wants to wear Zara, H&M. The first time I traveled abroad, I went to Europe, I bought H&M, blah, because nothing was here. You wanted all those clothing. So now suddenly I'm hearing this from my mother, and then you are thinking that, oh, cool, you know, cool clothes, not that expensive. I've got a t-shirt for like whatever, 1,000 rupees or 1,500 bucks. Now you're suddenly understanding that, okay, this is cheap, but somebody else is not getting paid. Like if I had a corporate job and I was complaining about the toxic culture because you're not getting paid for
Yeah.
how much work you're doing and things like that, is it fair for me to and which is the thing, right? Like when it comes to us, we want fair pay or fair wages and everything. But when we are consuming, we always want to negotiate. We will bargain with the sabzi walas, right? Even for like the 5 rupees or 5 रुपए का धनिया, उससे मेरा कोई घर में कोई change नहीं आ रहा है,
कुछ नहीं आने
right?
वाला चेंज बट
But
करना
we
है.
will still do it, right? The auto wala. So it kind of, because again, nobody's talking about fair wage in India, because anyways, we all are being exploited. Like even as an IT, when they are outsourcing to us, we are all exploited, right? So we are in somehow we have been conditioned to be okay with all these things,
Yeah.
and also because we struggle with so much in life, that momentary fast fashion clothing gives you happiness, but it's like a 5 minute
Correct.
happiness, whatever. So eventually, basically, for me, it was just like, all these things just started coming together from different perspective. One was understanding that, the whole labor thing, that how fashion underpays or exploits labor. Then kind of understanding the kind of impact which is happening on the environment because of fashion, from right from when we are wearing lycras and polyester. What is polyester? Polyester is plastic.
Yeah.
What does again, now when we talk about clothes, nobody is telling you how it's made. So whether
Hmm.
it's that polyester dye, things like that. हमने नए कपड़े पहन लिए, wow. But
Wow.
when you're putting it on our body, on our skin is like the biggest organ. We are not
Hmm.
thinking about it, right?
Correct.
We are putting all these dyes, all these chemicals, all this plastic on our body. We're not thinking about it.
Correct.
Then we think that, oh, now it's Instagram, we can just wear our clothes twice. So you wear it twice and you're throwing it. You're throwing it out of your house.
Correct.
Where does it go? Nobody's again thinking, where does it go? Now, earlier, when you were still just wearing cotton or silk, these are plant-based, these are biodegradable. So even
Hmm.
when you're throwing these clothes, they eventually compost fine. But now, when you're making polyester, you're wearing lycra clothing and throwing it, it has plastic in it. It's not decomposing. So when you're throwing it in the garbage or garbage, when you look at our dump sites, it's being burnt. Plastic is burning. Who's
My
breathing
God.
it? We are breathing it. So when your
Yeah.
cloth is burnt, so when we're talking air
Nobody thinks
pollution,
like that. Nobody thinks
yeah,
like that.
yeah. So everybody in October will talk about air pollution and blame Diwali. Okay,
Yeah.
but you're not thinking about what you're doing throughout the year. Firstly, most big cities don't have solid waste management. Delhi doesn't
Correct.
have proper solid
Yeah.
waste management. That's anyways another topic. If I do that with you, that's another 2 hours. But uh, if I just come to clothing, right? So earlier your clothing was getting compost, being cotton. Now it's not cotton. You have plastic mixed in it. If it is lying in the ground, it is getting buried in the ground. It goes in your water.
Okay.
You're drinking that water.
Oh my God.
So it is all going in your water or it is going in the air.
Oh.
Now, that's what I said. So when you wear that clothes and throw it, nobody's thinking that it is cheap for a reason. It's not cheap. It has cost. It's costing the earth. It's costing you. It's costing your skin. That's why we have these new diseases coming up now. Where is it
Yeah.
coming from? So, so it was like, like so many. But then the third point is you cannot say that, okay, let's stop fashion because in a country like India, it's also the second biggest employer after agriculture. The biggest employer is fashion, from people who are growing cotton to the textile mills to the karigars to your coming to the fashion industry, the designers, everybody.
Correct.
Uh, so you cannot say stop fashion. But there is so much happening because of fashion. Uh, so that's for me. It was like in the last. So now in the last 3 years since pandemic, still people have started talking about fashion, sustainable living. So for me, it happened like 6, 7 years before, and I started changing. So it started from fashion, but it then comes down to everything, like I told you, right? Like when you realize that, oh, this is what is in your water, and this is
Yes.
what is your detergent. When you learn that what you're washing your clothes with, that's bad for you.
Correct.
That's going in the sea. So it then just starts. It just became a much bigger thing for me. I mean, I don't say that. Oh my God, I know everything about sustainable fashion, or I am like 100% sustainable. I just feel like once you start understanding it, you become mindful, and it's like a lifelong change. You'll never be 100% sustainable. For that, you have to go live in the forest, not use anything. All of us like our nice lives also, but even making that little change every day then
Correct.
starts happening.
I know. You are absolutely right, Pata, and nobody thinks about it. And specifically the generation today, everybody wants new thing in the fashion. Oh, it's a new trend. We want that.
Yeah,
Nobody thinks about piling up those so many clothes, and then in the end they're giving it to their buyis and they're giving it to their moms. Okay, mom, dekhna, de dena, ye kar dena.
yeah.
Everything is going on in the pile. Nobody is talking about that. And the most biggest problem in this is the mental health. Coping
So
up with the new trends of fashion is another mental health issue.
yeah, so what I told you, the first thing, like I feel like I don't shop now because shopping doesn't give me happiness. But when I had a corporate job, and I still see my friends who have corporate jobs, the the moment you get your salary, you want to go and shop whatever is latest for that momentary happiness. It doesn't last long.
Yeah, I
Uh,
totally
but
agree.
but if you go back, like as a child, as any of us said even 20 years back, like as a child, I remember as a child, I always liked clothes. Okay, I just liked clothes, but then it was limited. Like I would get a new dress for Dashera or Holi or birthday. So for 6 months, I'm planning, or 3 months, that I want
We
this.
used to actually, we used to do that.
Yeah.
We
So
we were
that,
brought up like that.
yeah. So that feeling of I want this, you waiting to get that, be it by collecting your pocket money or it's a
Right.
birthday or whatever, and
आज
then
की
you got
generation नहीं
that.
समझती है.
Yeah, like even us, like today when you buy something, you don't have that feeling. So one was that happiness, that morphine which is getting released and makes you happy much longer, because it's also that the demand, law. What is that law in economics? I forgot. I studied economics. I forgot.
I
Basically, when
am
you eat
not the
that
person.
first, you eat the first bite when you're hungry. The satisfaction you get in that, and when you are on your 10th bite,
Understood.
goes down. So I forgot whatever it was in economics, but basically it's that now, right? Like now you're just buying. You're buying online. You're buying on the street. Like there is no planning.
It's
No think.
madness. It's madness. I've also seen few people nowadays. What they're doing is because Instagram is making them more depressed and their anxiety levels are
Yeah.
high. They have converted, instead of doing this entire day, now they land up on few shopping website
Yeah.
apps,
Yeah.
and they're
Yeah.
like, I don't want to watch Instagram when I want to sleep, because what happens is I see my friends partying. I see a lot of girls or my friends going on extreme expensive vacations
Yeah.
and all, and it feels me that
Yeah.
I am depressed, I don't have money. What I've started doing is, this is one of my friend who told me, I go
Hmm.
on shopping
Shopping.
web apps, and I just do window shopping. I just put
Yeah.
it on a wish list or put
Yeah.
it in my card whenever I will have money.
Yeah.
So that girl told me that this is an extreme happiness for me. It gives me a way of living and a
Mhm.
satisfaction which I get.
Yeah.
She
Hmm.
said, You have no idea the satisfaction which I get while doing this instead of going to Instagram. I can't do
But
what?
but do
I
you
had no
think it
words to
brings them
say. I leave it.
happiness? But that's just, what do you think it gives happiness? It is. I feel like this whole like even what you're putting out, and I mean, I'm a content creator. So anyways, I'm creating, thinking, I have a strategy in place, right? Everybody has a
Right.
strategy in place as a creator. Like, what are you attracting? What kind of people you want to stay? But what happens to the audience? What happens to that, what, as you said, that young girl who keeps watching everybody? Like when we started as a content creator, the whole idea, and it was we were bloggers. The idea was about regular people. So you have celebrities, you have models, and you have fashion show, and then you have a blogger who would be regular person who can be tall, short, dark, fair, round, whatever. How would that person adapt this fashion?
Correct.
Today, everybody's a model. Okay, everybody's perfect.
Everybody is
Everybody,
perfect.
okay,
Correct. कोई flaw ही नहीं है किसी के अंदर.
right. Now that perfection, that perfection is coming from putting a filter, getting a surgery, getting a Botox.
Right.
Up to you, you want to do it, it's great. But nobody's talking about it, that they've got it done, right? Or you are using a filter, or you photoshopped it. So to
Correct.
everybody else who's looking at these pictures, for a 16, 17, 18-year-old, it's like, this is how you're supposed to look. It's not, you're like, when we were growing up, we saw, I mean, all sorts of, like body or whatever. Like, of course, you were shamed even then. I grew up body shamed for being too thin. But today, everybody's perfect.
Yeah.
Like even for me, like now I'm getting pimples, and I'm like, okay, I didn't have pimples all my life. Now I'm getting these adult acne, but what to do? Like I'm so bothered about it,
Correct.
because why is nobody else? Like I'm now looking at other women who are in the 30s and they all have flawless skin. So it is affecting you, because all the time I'm also putting a filter, but in my head I'm also looking at my pimple every time I'm putting a filter and being bothered by
It's
it.
effect. Actually, the point of always being perfect, having that perfect reel, being in that new trend of fashion, It has taken a
Absolutely.
total toll on
Absolutely.
people, specifically the young generation's mental health. Then nobody wants to talk about it. And
Yeah.
sustainable, so they never will understand. They don't want to
No,
understand. For them, it's like, no, it's new, we have to buy it. Sustainable, they
absolutely.
don't understand.
Absolutely. Like, see, even when, you're talking about the bad air, I read a report about how, amongst other diseases you're getting because of air pollution, it is also, you also get depressed.
Yeah,
It is affecting your mental well-being with bad
absolutely. Yeah,
air also.
absolutely.
So, other than, of course, what is happening like around you and like this, but even chemically, how things are getting altered in our own system because of these things. And again, nobody's talking about, about it. Even like, in fact, there's another, because you're talking about trends. So while Sheen is now banned in India, but Sheen, I think in last year, somebody did a whole research on them, and
Okay.
they have 20%, no, into 20. So whatever is the permissible lead is not good for it's it affects your body, it affects your
Okay.
hormones, etc. Right? Uh, it affects your cognitive movements. So lead is bad. I mean, you're
Okay.
not supposed to be close to lead. Sheen clothing, when it was researched, they have 20 times permissible limit of lead on their clothing.
Okay. Oh my God, that's
Okay,
huge. That's huge.
it is so. Other than what you said, that all these, if you're young and you want to be on trend, and Sheen is fast fashion, they have been coming out with a new collection, I think every week or 2 weeks, and
Yes.
it is way cheaper than most of these fast fashion labels. So it's like you can get a nice t-shirt for 500 rupees. So everybody's buying
Yes.
Sheen. But now imagine there is lead on your clothing.
On your skin.
Forget what happens later. Forget whatever you're getting impacted. So it's on you right now,
Absolutely.
and it's out there. And this is one of the brands or one of the study which is out. You don't know about so much other, like you don't know that dyes which go in your clothing, like how much of that like is there. People use wet wipes, people use white. What is
Correct.
wipes made of? Wipes are made from the tree bark which has been bleached to become white. Now imagine the amount of bleach chemical which is gone on that to make it
Yeah.
that, and you're putting it on your skin. So somehow we can also, somehow there has to be a reason why in the last 20 years diseases like cancer, like hormone
They've
disease,
increased.
PCOD, for example.
Right.
And if you look at our menstrual health, all these sanitary napkins, you can smell the perfume before you open the packet. You're putting
Absolutely agree.
perfume. You're putting perfume in the most intimate part of your body.
Yeah.
Uh, PCOD is happening to so many women. PCOD leads to depression. It gives you anxiety. It's coming from sanitary pads, napkins, things like that. What we are using. So all of it. Like I got allergies. I got a chronic disease, and after that, because I did all these antibiotics. I have allergies. So for me now, it's very. I can feel the difference in my skin. Like I cannot wear anything which is not natural fabric. Like I break into hives. So it takes you time to realize that. It's only once you start. So I would say not just sustainable fashion, it's sustainable living. Once
It's
you
the
start
same.
realizing that what
Yes.
goes in and what goes out is equal. It's
Correct.
never going to be that आपको सस्ते में कपड़े मिल गए तो कहीं affect नहीं कर रहा है. It
नहीं
is
नहीं होने ही नहीं वाला.
affecting us somewhere. So it all is affecting us slowly, which we are not realizing.
Absolutely. Yeah. Nobody is realizing it and nobody's talking about it.
Like like if you're I because I got into first sustainable fashion, this, that, and then blah. Then now I'm thinking about waste. Waste really matters to me. So then I started understanding how do you reduce your waste. Okay. So in that I then learned about making something called a bioenzyme. Okay.
Okay.
Uh, so basically, bioenzyme is something which you make from any citrus peel,
Okay.
lemon peel, orange peel, all of that. You basically put it in a bottle with some good, let it ferment. That is it's bioenzyme, so it's basically good bacteria. So you
Okay.
can clean your house, you can clean your clothes, stains, everything with it. Your toilet cleaner. And then you realize how much chemicals you're putting in your own house. So the pocha you're doing has all this. The toilet cleaner has so much. Then you're washing the utensil chemicals. You are washing your clothes. So firstly, you're breathing all of it. Then it goes down your drain. From the drain, where does it go? It is going to the river and sea.
Yeah.
Okay, that is coming back to us. Either you're drinking that water,
Absolutely.
or the plants are getting it, like in Delhi, Yamuna, all these vegetables have so much of lead in the food, in the vegetables.
Correct.
कहाँ से आ रहा है? It's coming,
तो वहीं से आ रहा है.
right? So
The water is being used for agriculture also.
yeah, and then in your own house. Now imagine when you're doing that pocha, you're sitting in a room, you're using that air spray. What is that air spray? It's again chemical, right? So we don't know, we don't realize. So now I make that bioenzyme, I use that. But once you make it, so also you realize it's zero waste. So basically, जो छिलका फेंक रहे थे आप, which would go in the landfill, instead of doing that, you're composting it or you're making a bioenzyme. So you're reducing your waste to zero. You're living a less chemical life. So it is like all connected once you
Correct.
get there. And also for your mental health, right? So now I feel like, I think it's a selfish or whatever you can call it, like it's a human behavior that when you do something for somebody else, you feel happy,
Absolutely.
right? So I'm in some way, maybe I'm taking the higher ground, but I feel like, okay, I'm putting less crap out in the world when I am making this bioenzyme, for example, and cleaning my house. Other than being good for me, in my head, it's somewhere I'm feeling that I did some good. So I feel happy. So being mindful, from just starting from sustainable fashion to becoming mindful about things, you become happier
Happier.
than what we
It's
spoke
a
earlier
very
about.
nice new thing I have learned today. In my own mind, the persona was okay, fine. We talk about sustainable things. We want to have a better green environment, want to do less of hurdles in life, want to have less clutter. So
Yeah,
sustainable fashion is fine. This new version is totally different. I had not thought about it. Like
yeah,
having this, okay, you're doing this for your own skin, you're doing it for your own country, your own future generations
yeah,
and all. And then the feeling of that happiness. I think
yeah,
I understand what you are trying to say.
yeah,
I had not seen this entire sustainability thing with that point of view.
yeah. So you know
Totally
what
do.
we spoke, like your friend who spoke
Yeah.
about doing this online shopping, right?
Yeah.
As in even just putting in the cart, right? So do you understand? Because you're unhappy. No, I'm not saying unhappy. You're just idle
You are just in
mind
your
or
own
whatever.
zone and you don't
So
just
you're
want
doing
to do
that.
a time pass.
Right now, instead of that, if you sit and make this bioenzyme, for example, for that half an hour, you're away from the screen, which is good for you. You are doing something with your hand. Okay,
Correct.
again, we have lost using our hands to make things. Okay, so when you're doing that, you're kind of firstly getting off the screen. You're doing something physical activity. Okay, and then you're feeling happy that oh, मैंने ये बनाया. Okay, I made
Correct.
this. I'm going to like now clean my house without chemicals. So it's like, and you're saving money from doing that unnecessary shopping. You're saving the earth from that unnecessary kachra which is going to be dumped after 2 days. So it makes you, once you become mindful, you change a lot of your habits
Correct.
of spending time. So that sustainable fashion, again, for example, another sustainable fashion thing, it's not just buying sustainable labels. Okay, it's about wearing them better, about maybe upcycling something. So instead of buying a new clothing, I have this denim jacket.
Okay.
Okay, now because now I'm in this whole idea कि मेरे को नए कपड़े नहीं खरीदने हैं, I have to be sustainable. चलो, I'm going to make this into new. So that's when you become creative. You might just take out some patch, stitch some patches, put some mirror work. कोई पुराना दूसरा कोई blouse है मेरा जो cut, mirror work. Let me cut it and put it on the back. So you're becoming creative. You're doing some art or something. Again, all these things make you happier.
Yeah.
Then, like anything when you're creating. For the other thing I do, I tell everybody, I'm going to tell you also, start segregating your waste and compost your waste, which you can start with just first the raw one. So just start with, say, whatever is your raw peels. So when you cut your vegetables, fruit, whatever is that part, don't put it in your garbage and give it to the kachra wala. Make a compost.
Okay.
Okay, put it in you can buy there now. You also get like ready-made compost bins, which is easier for people. So you can buy these compost bins. A lot of these social businesses, NGOs, they sell that. So you can just, so what happens is after 2 months, this becomes organic fertilizer. Okay, when you see that fertilizer, you're buying fertilizer, generally buying chemical fertilizer. Now, आपने अपने खुद का कचरा,
बहुत लोगों ने शुरू कर दिया है. I've seen lot of people have started doing this.
It's very easy.
It is very easy. The videos what I have seen, if it is like that, it's very, very easy.
It's very easy. See, that's what I'm saying. It's very easy. Or otherwise, you can now buy compost bins. There are a lot of companies now sell it.
Yes.
Okay. So even that, and then you're buying fertilizer. Again, the same thing, right? So once you're buying, you're making this compost. Then शुरू में आपने अपने regular money plant वगैरह में ही डाला. But अब now you start feeling happy. You feel like I can do more. You might just grow tomato. Okay. Now this is your organic tomato because this is your own compost. It's not fertilizer. So you're eating organic food. Again, you're going to be happy. You're touching soil. All of that, I feel, makes you very happy. Makes me very happy. But so you're not doing mindless shopping. You're not going. I don't go to the mall. I hate going to the mall. I have like so many other things to do. These things to do all the time. But I'm like, मेरे को नहीं जाना.
I know. I understand. I have a son, and what happens is shopping with him has become a mess. I have stopped doing mall shopping at all. I just can't do it. So me as a personality, I don't like going to malls. I love open air. I would definitely love that. Gives me stimulation. That gives me so much of happiness when I'm in the open area. I really, really love it. I definitely am more of an online shopping person. Because I just can't stand in a queue and wait for other people in the try room for 15 to 20 minutes inside a small that compartment. It is just not for me. I need my own space, and that happiness and stimulation comes when I'm in the open air. I'm roaming around, I'm walking, I'm happy.
Exactly. See, I mean, I think we all feel happier when you are like, you walk on the grass, you're out there. But we have now made our lives around concrete.
Yeah. Agree. Totally agree. Yeah. Totally agree. Sustainable fashion की कोई बात करता नहीं और लोग ना सब NGOs वगैरह, they have made this system of, okay, we will talk about sustainability, but when they're talking about sustainability, it is majorly air pollution only and water pollution. They don't talk about why.
Yeah. Also, or it becomes a very high level of, okay, just buy sustainable brands. If you want to be sustainable, the first thing is stop buying what you don't need.
Correct. उतना ही लो जितना जरूरत है.
Yeah, which again will give you happiness if you're thinking and buying. Being mindful. Now we are not being mindful. We're not thinking what we need.
Absolutely, absolutely. Thank you, Pallavi. It was really, really nice talking to you. And sustainable, I hope people can understand how living sustainability can also make them living a better and happy life. Very, very important for their mental health. With that, I would like to take a bow and I would like to thank you. And to my audience, I would like to say, Do watch this episode, and thank you for joining us today again on Soul Talks Leading Ladies Season 1. Subscribe to the channel, download the app, and do wait for our next episode. Thank you.